Dani. If you like content like this, please consider joining memberships where you can get early access to episodes and access to extended episodes. Unfortunately, the version that I found of this show was not of great quality. So we're making do. I apologize if I missed any parts of the show. The version I was watching was lagging a lot and it was really slow, so I apologize for that. First, I'm going to talk about some quick thoughts when it comes to intros when the ladies initially came out on stage. Colombia loved this white gown on her. Dominican Republic loved the entire look. I feel like her walk though just needed to be toned down. Guatemala, really beautiful gown. The ball gown itself reminded me of something that would have been inspired by a period piece. Loved it. Honduras, there was something about her aura that I loved. Jamaica was a standout with that updo, it really caught my eye. Martinique, gorgeous gown on her, super unique, very fashionable. Mexico, really pretty in pink, and I've noticed that Mexico tends to go for pastel pinks for international competitions, excluding the Miss Universe competition. Panama, I love this look, I love the hair, but I don't feel like it suits Miss World. Paraguay was beautiful like a flower. Peru, amazing gown, and I love this styling on her. Puerto Rico looked beautiful, but her body language looked a little tense. Trinidad and Tobago, oh my gosh, such a beautiful face on camera. United States, the hair in the gown was giving me Venezuela, but I felt like it was a great choice for World. This was beautiful styling. Venezuela, so much confidence in this walk. Beautiful gown, but I do feel like it was a lot of skin on her stomach for World. Angola was glowing in white. Sierra Leone was so beautiful and had such a gorgeous smile. South Africa was beautiful, she got the crowd going, but I felt like the gown was distracting. Belgium, gorgeous. Czech Republic, gosh, when she came out and with that height, she just looked like the queen. She was so memorable just in that moment, right then and there. A lot of the judges probably were just like, well, that's her. England was so regal in this white style. I loved this. Estonia, loved her. France was gorgeous in this gown, and she's France. I feel like she would have a great gown. Germany was stunning, but I felt like it was too sexy. Gibraltar, I loved this gown on her and the styling, but it just wasn't very Miss World. Regardless, I like it. Hungary was very unique in this blue, so pretty. Malta, I loved this yellow on her, but I will say that the walk still needed some work. Don't come at me, but I did love Moldova's gown. I know it's not very Miss World, and it actually reminds me of a national costume. Throw on some big accessories and it could work for that. Norway looked very Kate Middleton in this gown, and speaking of Kate, where is she? Poland was really pretty in purple. Scotland was beautiful and had amazing hair. Serbia was gorgeous, and she was giving me Latina vibes. Slovakia was very elegant and very much serving Miss World. Spain, wow, that periwinkle color on her was unique and perfect. Wales, I have to say, really great hair and makeup. Very noticeable great hair and makeup. Australia was just smiling. She was like sunshine. China I thought was really pretty, but her walk was a bit fast. India was our hometown queen. This was a beautiful gown on her. I just wish that they had styled it with a different necklace or preferably no necklace at all. Indonesia, so pretty. Kazakhstan, pretty, but I thought the gown was too sexy. Korea was very pretty too. Lebanon, so beautiful. Interesting gown choice for World. The deeper colors don't usually do that well. And also, interesting to note, she competed at Universe before, but her fan base really seemed to grow. I heard so much about her leading up to this competition. Malaysia, beautiful gown. I don't think it needed the sheer corset. Myanmar, this was a great gown on her. Great choice. Philippines was so elegant when she walked, but I only got to see a second of her. I felt like they gave her so much less time than everybody else. Why? Sri Lanka, I don't normally like these dark colors, but this color was really working for her. Thailand is so stunning. Gosh, I love her, and I really want to see her compete at Miss Universe. Turkey, I saw her gown for a second, but the second I saw it, I loved it. For the next part of the show, they talked about the Beauty with a Purpose winners, who were Brazil, Uganda, Ukraine, Nepal. Brazil won this part of the competition, so that fast-tracked her to the top 40. Our next top 40 placement went to the top model winner, and the qualifiers were Martinique, Botswana, Slovakia, and Turkey. And let me just say, let's just go on back to my first impression of Martinique and how I felt about her. Martinique looked like a 90s supermodel, and I love it. She looks like she walked off the 90s runways for Chanel, and I'm obsessed. And this makes a whole lot of sense because she also competed at Miss France this year. So she has had a lot of great training because she went through that organization, through that pageant. I'm very excited to see her here. I didn't realize she was competing at World. I love this. See? She was giving me those top model vibes. I could see it right then and there. Next, they have a sports challenge, and the winner of this was Croatia. And this is something I really love about Miss World. I love that they have these different qualifying events. Now, I personally would not do well in the sports competition, but there are other things in there for me, right? Like, I would have done well in the head-to-head or talent or potentially multimedia. Those would have been competitions where I would have really put my time and effort into, because I would think, I could potentially get a fast track placement with one of these. Moving on to the multimedia winner, this was Vietnam, and I love this because this encourages the contestants to engage with people online. Of course, it grows their personal following, but it will also grow the following of Miss World as well, and I think it's very smart. Then we have the head-to-head competition, and the qualifiers for this were Lebanon, England, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Botswana. Now we have talent. Our top three were Indonesia, Northern Ireland, and Tunisia. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see Tunisia perform, although it looked beautiful. I think that the version I watched got blocked out because of copyright. Now we had this segment where Indian actors walked on stage, and I don't want to get this incorrect because I got it incorrect in another episode. In another episode, I was asking about traditional Indian clothing, and I didn't know that there were others beyond lehenga and sari. So please share if you know what exactly they were wearing, because this was a really, really beautiful segment and the pieces were just stunning. Then there was a performance, and then we got to see all of the contestants on stage, once again, beautifully dressed. Now we have the top 40 announcement, and this is one thing that I think that they really got right for the production, and that was that they announced these ladies so quickly. I mean, 40 is a lot of contestants and things could really get drug out, but I love how fast this was. I love that each of the ladies had their moment. They had that really long runway and they really kept the energy up. This part was well done. Then we had a lot of other great performances, and this I think is key. This is how you should fill time, entertain your audience. Can we also talk about how great Megan looked throughout this entire show? She looked stunning. Now our top 40 was cut to a top 12. For this segment of the show, we got to see these really minimal video packages of the contestants, and it kind of said one main fun fact about them. So for example, Botswana is an attorney, and England is an aerospace engineering graduate who wants to be an astronaut and inspire young girls in STEM. So each of them had a little thing about themselves. Now we cut to the top 8, and here's something that I don't love. The contestants were announced in twos, and they both got the same question. So I feel like there's an advantage if you're the contestant that goes second, because you have the advantage of hearing the question first and you have more time to think about what you would say. Our first two were Brazil and Trinidad and Tobago. Their question was, according to you, what is the most pressing issue that most working women face and why? Brazil said, I would say equality, because we saw society when unfortunately women in many different countries don't have the same opportunities. We saw women who don't have access to education, to choose their dreams, to follow their passion, and this is something that I would like to change in the world, because every woman deserves to follow their dreams. I'm grateful to be here following my dream, and I also want other women to follow their dreams. Really good answer here. She sounded very confident and she was so inspiring when she said it. Trinidad and Tobago said, I can only speak from a Caribbean perspective. I come from beautiful but small islands, and I have to say sometimes it isn't a lack of talent or skills, it's a lack of opportunities. So I'm so grateful for Miss World because you're allowing me this platform to really follow my dreams, as my sister said. But the truth is, I just want to take this moment to speak to every little boy and every little girl from my country, my small island, and other small nations that may be watching this. I want you to know your voice is just as powerful as anybody else's. Your passion is just as needed. Your light is just as bright. I believe in you, but you have to believe in yourself and come represent our small island nations. Wow, wow, wow. She really got the crowd going with this, and I think the ending of this answer specifically gained her momentum and sent her answer over the top. Now we have Botswana and Uganda. Their question was, if you could convince people from all over the world to adopt a green and planet-friendly practice, what would it be and why? Botswana said, it would definitely be agriculture. Where I come from, we're very big on sustainable agriculture, and this is because it's not just an issue of green, it's also an issue of solving problems such as hunger and poverty, and ensuring that communities and people who are unable to make a living can sustain themselves. But more than that, every time we take care of nature, we take care of the future. I'd love to encourage every single person to take up social responsibility and ensure from a very personal level that you can take your part in being a Beauty with a Purpose ambassador, in sustaining our environment and our beautiful world. First of all, her voice is hypnotizing. Second of all, she makes such a great point with agriculture, and there are two organizations that I really love that are based in the US, but they serve communities worldwide. The first one is Feed Our Starving Children, and then the other one is Heifer International. Those were organizations that I really loved. As a sustainable advocate for poverty, I shared about those, have volunteered with them, and if that's something you're passionate about, you should check them out. Now Uganda answered, and I just have to say her gown up close is so stunning. Her answer was, if I could convince people, one thing I would tell them is to plant trees. When we plant trees, we avoid drought. I'm going to speak from my background where I come from. People are very poor because they face drought. When you face drought, you're going to sell up your children to go and get married. I am one of the survivors that survived from getting married at a very young age, and I am standing here. I feel like if parents get to know this and do this, one of their children will make it here on this global stage, and they will represent. Women just need a voice. They need to know that they can make it. Very, very beautifully said, very well said. Who would have thought that this question would have allowed her to share this important information? But it's very true. The connection is clear between drought and what people do in those dire situations in order to self-sustain. Czech Republic and England were asked, if you could shed light on an issue concerning women's health care, what would it be and why? Czech Republic said, being a woman is a big gift, and I can't be more grateful than to stand here proudly as a woman representing all of the women in the world. And I think the issue, which we should never forget, is about menstruation, because women in many countries are still facing the shame when it comes to menstruation, and they're afraid to speak about it, and they don't get the proper attention that they need. Thank you. Very true. I feel like this is an issue all over the world, and she said this answer and spoke with a lot of confidence. But the other thing to mention here is that she referenced representing all of the women in the world. And I will say a common denominator, pageant to pageant, seems to be some sort of reference to the pageant name itself. So in this case, she's talking about representing women of the world. And then you'll often hear answers at Miss Universe, like Pia, for example, she was talking about in the world, and then she said the universe rather, right? There was that connection. At Miss Grand International, you'll hear contestants talking about Grand, the one and only. So I feel like those little verbal connections are often a common denominator for winners. England said, I would shed light on the fact that there is a lack of compassion and a stigma surrounding women's health care. Throughout the world, there's women facing period poverty who are made to feel embarrassed for being female. There's children who are missing school because of a natural bodily function. I think it's up to us as strong, independent women representing our countries today to take a stand and educate the masses about this issue. So here's the example of why I think it's unfair to ask the same question twice. Miss Czech Republic had already shared a bit about menstruation, and I feel like in this case, Miss England was essentially reiterating the same point. So you kind of lose the wind behind your sails in that case. So ladies, whenever you have these common questions about women's health, questions about challenges women around the world face, or female role models, or if there's one message you would have for all women, whenever you have what I would say are common pageant questions, you're gonna have a few different answers in case you end up in a situation like this. Miss England, I'm sure she was saying the first thing that came to the top of her head, but it's unfortunate that Czech already talked about it. But she could have talked about other things. Like she could have talked about how oftentimes healthcare providers don't believe women when they say that they're experiencing pain. Women have a quote unquote higher pain tolerance. She also could have talked about maybe resources for new mothers. That would be a women's health issue as well, especially in countries that experience a lot of poverty. There's a lot of resources that those women don't have. And so that's something that you could have talked about as well. So I think it's important to not just have one common issue, but a few just in case you need them. Last, we had India and Lebanon. They were asked, can you suggest a way that women can be empowered through social media? India said, well, today we live in a world where social media is of such power, of such use, that conversation and awareness can create change. And I do believe that social media has the power to change the world. Living in the Generation Z and being a part of Generation Z, just conversation and awareness around the fact of how women empowerment can take its recourse towards progressive march and perfection. And standing here on the Miss World stage, I take the light to be the change, to be the source, and using social media to its utmost utility to be the power of change. So I think in this answer, she got a little bit repetitive here, unfortunately. I feel like the key to improving her answer would have been to get more specific. So for example, if I were asked this question, I would most most likely share about being a content creator and say that I feel that it's important to empower other women by sharing our stories. Social media is a highlight reel, and for me, I like to share my highs, of course, but I also share my lows because I want people to see that success isn't overnight, and specifically I want women to see that so that they'll go after their biggest dreams and that so they'll feel empowered to do so. So I feel like that's something that in my own way, I could have personalized an answer like that, but she could have gotten a little bit more specific. Now it's Lebanon's turn, and she said, "Good evening, everyone. First, of course, social media plays a big role in our life, but to empower women, we have to start with ourselves in a beauty pageant to normalize being authentic, to normalize that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to be ourselves, and that's why we are here. Today, I've witnessed that all of us are different here, but everyone is beautiful by her own way, and that's why we are all queens. So, to everyone watching me now, be who you are. Be authentic to yourself. Just be you, because that's what makes you perfect and unique, and let's normalize being authentic." Thank you so much. Here you go. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. Her idea for empowering other women is to normalize authenticity. Now we're moving on to our top 4, and the cool thing of this is they're crowning Continental winners, and whoever ends up winning Miss World, the first runner-up for that title, ends up taking over that Continental representation. So I really like that. The other really unique thing that they did here for this segment was they brought the judges off of India's Shark Tank for this portion of the competition. They brought them on stage, and then the contestants got to pitch within 1 minute why they should be Miss World. And I love that. I love the merge between pageants and culture. That was so cool. Trinidad and Tobago went first, and she said, "Namaste, everyone. I'm excited. So firstly, when I stand here, I represent 1.4 million people of Trinidad and Tobago. And what I can offer as Miss World is the mindset of my people. In India, I know you say," and then she shared a common Indian phrase, and she said, "Sorry, I butchered it. But the point is that you say the world is one family. And in Sweet TNT, we say every creed and race find an equal place. The way I live my life is with that motto and with that mantra. I believe Miss World has a similar mantra. I believe when you have compassion and understanding for differences, you can really make a difference in the world and work hand in hand to create a bright future. For me, I am so honored to be here and to share the mindset of TNT because we can truly make a difference. In Sweet Trinidad and Tobago, we acknowledge our similarities, but more importantly, we celebrate our differences. We see the beauty in diversity and we promote inclusion. So I would love to be a part of this organization and to do so and to work with all of you to create a brighter and happy world. Thank you so much." We were off to a really strong start with her, okay? Great answer here. Next was Miss Botswana, and the hair touch heard around the world. Oh my goodness. So I saw so many posts about this, about Megan Young touching her hair, and I saw so many different sides of this. Megan made a statement, Miss Botswana made a statement. I feel like it was an unfortunate thing to happen. I don't feel like Megan was adjusting her hair because she had any ill intention, but I also know that there's a lot of cultures where touching people's hair or their head is inappropriate, and I'm so curious if that was the case here for Miss Botswana. I would love to hear everybody's perspective on that. It's definitely something that everybody can learn from and be more aware of and just more sensitive of for one another, and hopefully we can just all learn from it. But moving on, this is what Miss Botswana said. She said, "Thank you and good evening, everyone. I believe I should be the next Miss World because I am the true essence of beauty with the purpose. For as long as I can remember, I've always used my skills, my passion, my talent, my intellect, and my love to uplift the lives of those around me. And so through my Genesis project, which levels the playing field for children in poverty, I use my legal expertise to offer legal solutions to those who cannot afford them, and each and every day I show love and kindness. But most importantly, I love this platform. I love it with my whole heart, and I aspire to see a world where beauty with a purpose is not just a Miss World concept, but where each and every person uses that quality to make them beautiful, to uplift the lives of those around them. And I know that I can't do it alone. And as Julia Morley says, is it not better to light one candle than to not see in darkness? I aspire to be the driving force that inspires the world to light their own little candles. Thank you." Honestly, I feel like another really well-delivered, persuasive answer. Czech Republic said, "Good evening, Namaste, India. Dear Shark Tanks, I want you to imagine one thing. Imagine that you are a child, but you have dreams and your hopes. But as you grow older, your dreams are getting further and further away. Now imagine you're a parent and your child needs to go through the same situation of having a dream, but growing up and the dream is getting further and further. And that's just because the child doesn't get the proper education to fulfill their dream career. As of 2024, it's still a fact that 250 million children are out of school worldwide, and that's why my lifelong mission is providing quality education to underprivileged children. I believe education is a fundamental right every child deserves, and I'm here to advocate for those children. It's something that I've been doing for a very long time, much before I entered pageantry. It's something It's something that's really close to my heart and what I'll be doing either I win Miss World or don't win Miss World. Thank you so much. I will say my note for this is I feel like Czech Republic sounded a little bit nervous in this answer, but she still had a really, really great answer. And at Miss World, they really seem to put an emphasis on caring for children, as we should. And I feel like that's why this answer probably did so well at Miss World. Miss Lebanon said, "Well, I see Miss World as a very strong, confident woman, but more importantly, a woman with a purpose. Born and raised in Lebanon, I've learned how to spread love wherever I go, how to have respect, and how to rise after every fall, because even the biggest non-nuclear explosion in the history didn't stop us from dreaming and achievement. So that's what I want to share with the world, the resilience, love, respect, and compassion. So for everyone listening to me now, I just want to say thank you, Lebanon, for teaching me how to be a Miss World." That answer, I have to say, felt so heartfelt from her. I felt her answering that, and it was really beautiful. Now, for the results of this, we had our top 4, and what they do is they announced a first runner-up this year and then straight to the winner. And one thing that I miss about Miss World that we have at Miss Universe is like that moment of the top 2 holding hands and the suspense of that. I feel like that is always something really fun, and it just really builds and adds to a show. So I was bummed not to see that moment, but Miss World does things their own way. So our first runner-up was Miss Lebanon, and that makes a lot of sense. She did very, very well throughout this entire competition. But our winner was Miss Czech Republic, and I feel like honestly what put Czech Republic over the top for everything is from the beginning, she had a queen's aura. She looked like a queen. She had such presence. She's so tall. You see her in that white dress covered in feathers. You can't help but look at her. So I really feel like the visuals helped her a lot, because overall these ladies that made it to the top 8 and then the top 4, they did an incredible job with their onstage answers, and I didn't feel like there were any oops moments on stage. They did so well, and when that happens, they're making it tough on the judges, and then judges are going to get nitpicky, and sometimes they're just going to choose a title holder that they think looks like the queen in that moment. Thank you so much for watching this Miss World recap. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll check out other pageant recap episodes and my vlogs. Come along with me on my life's adventures. Thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate all your support. I hope to see you very soon, and don't forget to check out these other episodes that I've linked.